So we are at a very good place right now because we have someone who's done that. He's not only changed his life, but he's also fought his fears and become what he wasn't. And he's there. Actually, Aman, Aman was first an actually he was a media consultant and a strategist. And after 7 years of working with the Singapore network channel, he became a psychotherapist, a mentor, a counselor, a youth mentor. So he's done it. He has changed his life, which we all want to. As a young guy in boarding school, he was bullied and he fought his fears. And he's fought his fears right now and he's helping other people. So he's all that what we want to do, and he's going to teach us today. Today, he's a psychotherapist. He's a role model to many people. He's written a beautiful book on transaction analysis called Intense Psychopathy and frequently unanswered questions about sex. That is called What the Fuck. Okay, very interesting title. And today he's helping a lot of people, lot of youth in terms of counseling. He's a very good orator. He's a corporate trainer. He's invited to speak. So he's done it. He's done it. He's changed his life, changed his profession, changed his thought. So he's going to help us do that also. And because he's faced his fears, he's kind of an expert today in today's scenario, how to face our fears regarding, information fatigue and fear mongering. So without much ado, help me welcome Dr. Aman again. Thanks for being here, Dr. Aman.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me here.
Okay. So starting with one question which has come up recently is that earlier people were not watching news so often, but now the moment they wake up and they go to sleep, they just are constantly watching channels. The FOMO, fear of missing out, which is so strong, and they are getting a lot of anxiety. So they want to know that there is how much time they should spend on watching TV, and how should they control themselves from going to the news channel or listening to the news. Can you help with that, please?
Well, I think this is a very personal decision for you to make. For example, for me, on day 4, I kind of lost interest because I found that all news is like cyclical in nature, you see. So you'll be getting a lot of the same WhatsApps, a lot of the same messages, because there's a chance that on an average, all of us are on a minimum of at least 3 WhatsApp groups, and I'm saying 3 as a very conservative number. So a lot of information is repetitive in nature. If you remember when the entire situation took place in India with our flight commander was captured in Pakistan, everyone was watching the news at that time as well, right? People watched the news when Kunal Kamra was, given a flight ban. So people will watch what interests them. So there is no standard definition of, if you watch the news for 7 minutes every day and not more, you don't watch it for 8 minutes, then you will not be stressed. So when it comes to how much media you must consume, there is no one size fits all. It really depends on what is your threshold in terms of how long does it take before you get tired or before you crack or experience stress in a certain situation. So it's not about just listening to the news. It's about the quality of information that is also coming your way, right? So personally, I prefer the WHO website or the Vox Daily website, or for Times of India. Like these guys been doing news since before you and I were born. So credible sources, not some uncle living above you who's now got nothing better to do. So he's sending you forwards about, yahan pe these many people are dying. Oh, now this area has been quarantined. Oh, why are people walking downstairs? Oh, is anyone got sabjis? That is also news. News is not just what Modi ji reaches till your doorsteps, right? So news is also information in the most bite-sized information about what your friends are doing online. For example, that is also news. So if you create structures for yourself, for your life, where you don't get sucked in to this circus that is currently out there with this, as I said, it's very cyclical, very repetitive in nature. If you don't get sucked into that, I think it's good for you because, then you have more time to sleep, to read books, watch Netflix. 3 of my favorite activities. I love sleeping, I love reading, and I love watching movies and TV shows on Netflix when I'm not checking my WhatsApp and my news apps. So it's really up to you.
So how can you help us when people are so addicted? How can they stop themselves from watching the news or WhatsApp or pop? How can they stop themselves?
I think you have to see the evidence of what it's doing to you. So, for example, if you're eating a vegetable and it's not cooked properly, you'll spit it out. You'll say, "Ye kya hai? Theek se banaya nahi hai." You'll say, "Why am I eating this? It's not cooked. It has no flavor, and it's getting very weird for me to eat this." You'll spit it out, right? Or are you going to analyze it and say, how much time should I bite it for before I spit it out? Similarly, if there's a certain behavior and certain activity, a certain habit that is leading to you feeling compromised in a certain way, that is leading to you feeling like it's not adding value to your mood, not adding value to your day, not adding value to your schedule, not adding value to anything that you want for yourself. See, everyone has a list of things they want for themselves. Do you understand what I'm saying? We all want certain things for ourselves.
Right.
Isn't it? So it's very important for you to know what you want for yourself, not what mom wants for you, what the government wants for you, what your best friend wants for you, what your society members want for you, what the poor people need from you. No, you want certain things for yourself. You need to be absolutely clear about what you want. And no one in the world, not your mom, not your dad, not your twin brother or sister, not your best friend should be able to distract you from that. So if you want peace, if you want clarity and peace at the same time, then you have to siphon what's coming in. The same way when you cook rice, you first have to clean it, right? And the impure grains, they'll float to the top, right? And you have to throw that away, isn't it? So if you take so much time to clean your vegetables and your rice, why don't you take a little bit of time to clean what's happening in here? Thoda saaf safai karo. That's what I say.
Okay. Thank you. Anybody has any question right now?
I have a question.
Go ahead.
I think like so many other people, it's important to stay informed about what's happening. I mean, it just, if it's not me, it's my parents or my girlfriend or whatever. And, all these WhatsApp forwards, you're just bombarded by information. Like right now, WhatsApp is going nuts. I'm part of all the groups. I'm receiving 20,000 forwards a day and everything is about what's going on. So it's very hard to stay disconnected. So how do you navigate that? And also, your own curiosity.
See, your curiosity.
Farhan, please record now. We don't want to miss out this valuable information. Start recording, Farhan. Farhan, start recording.
Yes, it's started.
Okay, yeah, sorry.
So the question is, how do you avoid missing out on important information without getting suffocated? Correct? Well, you have to choose the sources of information from which you get your fix. Now, if you think WhatsApp University, as they're calling it now, is the best place to get information, there's a chance you may get something relevant, but there's also a chance that you may get a lot of junk. Do you understand what I mean?
Yeah.
Have you ever seen a person make tea, like a simple cup of tea on the street, cutting chai? Have you seen how they strain everything before they serve it to you? So all human beings have a naturally gifted straining mechanism, far superior than all our other friends in the animal kingdom. We may not be the strongest.
Meeting
chal rahi hai? Oh, is there someone's sound is coming? Sorry, that just distracted me.
Therapist ki.
I have muted them. Go ahead.
Someone's not muted it. All right. Coming back to you. So see, I understand. Yeah, there's pressure to see WhatsApp. There's pressure to follow the news. What I do, I'll tell you what works for me. I'm not saying it'll work for you. I'm saying try it. I have turned off my WhatsApp notifications, not just during the coronavirus situation, but I've turned them off forever. So I check my WhatsApp only when I have time. So if I feel like, okay, abhi kuch hai nahi karne ko, so I'm going to check my WhatsApp now. Then there are groups on WhatsApp which I have muted because I know it's full of spam, full of anti-Modi jokes, full of all kinds of stuff. A lot of junk out there. This hospital is doing this. This policeman beat this person up. So there's a lot of extra information I don't need. Now I don't need to keep a statistical record of how many people were hit on the street, for example. It's happening. It's terrible. I understand that. But what am I going to do with those statistics? What am I going to do with the statistics of how many people are dying at a certain area or in a certain country? I need to know how to protect my family, how to protect myself. I remember I had a friend in college. He used to keep a diary in which he used to write all the relevant statistics related to cricket, because he really loved cricket. And he would remember them, and he'd say, "Is match mein ye hua tha, wo." He had an actual physical diary. And I once asked him, "What are you going to do with this?" He said, "No, I just enjoy collecting these statistics. It's just for me. It's for myself." But fortunately, those statistics didn't stress him out. Here you are seeing that the statistics are stressing you out. You are seeing that the statistics are adding no extra value to your life. All right? You have the basics covered. You know you need to wash your hands. You know you need to sanitize. All right? You know that you need to maintain a certain distance of a certain number of meters from other human beings. You know you can't go down and chill out with 5 other people in your complex. Yeah, you know you can't go to public spaces. You know you can't go to your office. You know the basics. So my recommendation would be to check the WHO website. All right? A news channel's job is to scare you, to excite you so that they can sell more products. News is a product that they have packaged and they're selling to you. All right? They have an incentive in selling that to you. Now you have to ask yourself whether you have an incentive in buying everything that is being sold to you. Isn't it?
Okay, great. Yeah. Does anybody have any question?
Yes, I have a question, sir.
Go ahead.
Hello, yeah. Doctor, as you said that we have to decide how much news to watch or how many messages we have to check. But then there are some people who are not that aware where to stop. So are there any indicators, which will tell us, okay, these are the indicators, this is what is, now you are getting affected by this watching news or responding to WhatsApp message, so you should stop. So is there anything like that, some indicators that you could tell us?
Well, your emotions, your mood, and in general what you have planned for the day is a good indicator. So for example, if you have reached a point where there's so much information that you've received and you are like, yaar abhi kuch man nahi kar raha hai kuch karne ka, anyway everything is futile, everything is useless, everything is if you're unfortunate enough to have received one of that China has conspired messages, फिर तो आपका पूरा ही mood खराब हो जाएगा, isn't it? So as I said, your own mind is your playground. Think about that. All right? You get to decide how long you play there, how long you give it rest, how much you sleep, as I said. So there's a certain respect you need to give yourself first as a human being. I respect myself enough to know I am feeling stressed out right now. I respect myself enough to know that I feel like shit right now. And I was not feeling like shit before this. It's as simple as that. You don't need a medical report. You don't need to go to Kasturba hospital to know you're feeling stressed out. You don't need to call up your mother and say, "Aapko kya lagta hai? Am I stressed out?" You know yourself, right? You understand it. You don't need a signed document from a psychotherapist like me to know that you are feeling compromised emotionally. So for example, if you're sleepy, is there a formula to falling asleep? No, right? You lie down and you wait till it happens. Similarly, if you are trying to create compartments in your life, you do that by creating compartments in your life. There is no formula. If there are people who are bringing you to that place, who are constantly throwing one after, like darts. You ever seen how they play darts in a bar? They're just throwing darts at you. Look at this is what happened. Look at what Modi did. Look at what China did. Look at what Donald Trump's a fool. Look at this, look at that. And these darts are constantly piercing you, and they're getting to a point where now you have lost your ability to have fair judgment on a situation. The moment you've lost your ability to have fair judgment over a situation, you're compromised. That is the number one indicator. That's not just stress. When you can't judge for yourself what is happening, and believe me, we've all had moments like that. None of us have stayed indoors, least of all me. I don't stay indoors very much. I even go and watch movies alone. All right, so I really enjoy getting out. I love going for my walks. I love going to new restaurants. I'm perpetually trying out, new eateries. And here I am cooking tendli in the evening. So, I mean, this is a very common situation for all of us. We're bored, we're confused, and there's a monotony to our schedules and a monotony to even the kind of information that reaches us. See, understand that the people who are sending you this information are also bored. Like I always tell people who are bored, I'm like, ever heard of books? Anyone ever heard of this wonderful invention called a book? You can start with a really small book or a comic book, or maybe write your own book. Start a blog. Even if it's a really shitty blog, you can start it. See, if you keep yourself busy, you don't have time for all this other crap that comes your way. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Can somebody mute that talking? Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
So that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Coming. Does anybody have questions? Any next question?
Yeah, I had a question. Sorry.
Yeah, Balaji, go ahead.
Yeah, doctor, now that you mentioned that these things are really causing stress, how do we unwind? If we have reached our peak, how do we unwind and just, get disconnected from all this and try to get back on our own, emotionally come back to our own self?
Let me ask you a question, Balaji. How long has it been since you turned your phone off?
I don't think I really have turned it off any day.
Maybe it's a good time to try that. Inform the people you love that you're not dead and that you are going to be turning your phone off for a couple of hours. And I assure you that if there is a hospital emergency for which you are required physically, or you got to donate your kidney or something, you will be reached even if your phone is off.
Right.
They will find you. They'll send Liam Neeson to find you, but you will be found. So, I mean, you may not want to turn your phone off. What I do is I put my phone on flight mode. Okay. All right, and I leave it in a very hard to reach location where I would feel lazy to reach it. So I'll leave it at the top shelf of my cupboard, for example, which I usually don't reach. So I'll just put it there and sort of be like, all right, I'm going to watch. I made a list of TV shows I'd like to catch up on. For so long, I've been wanting to catch up on some good TV shows. No harm having like a Netflix or a Prime subscription. I'm not working for them, but any app. There are good stories out there. For me, I feel there's a lot of insight you can gain through the stories and perspectives of other people. All right? Okay. Now, you don't have access to real human beings, but you have access to an almost infinite archive of human stories in the form of TV shows, in the form of books. Some people say, books is boring, yaar, school mein karte the, is too stressful for me. I get it, all right? So, I gave you a very simple tip: turn your phone off, or put it on airplane mode, or put it on silent, or give it to someone and tell that person, take care of my phone for the time being. Be the custodian of the phone. All right, like in Lord of the Rings, right? He gave that guy the ring and said, now it's yours. You have to go and destroy it. So you got to give your phone to someone and say it's yours for the next 3 hours. And in these 3 hours, I have a few tasks that I would like to do. Maybe I want to learn to cook. Maybe I want to clean the house. Maybe I would like to, as I said, watch something which is in the news. Maybe I'd like to develop a certain skill set which would help me professionally succeed in my line of work, because if you don't upgrade yourself, no one has the incentive to promote you. In a lot of workplaces, people are waiting for promotions because they're nice. I'm so nice, my boss should promote me. No, you are promoted only if you make your boss's job easy, only if you're earning money for people who are hiring you. So, best time to learn how to earn money for those people or for yourself, or how to basically prepare for your boss's job if he died suddenly with coronavirus or not. Would you be able to take on his role? So what are the skills required? There are a lot of free websites out there. There is Udemy. I spend a lot of time watching TED Talks. There are 3 TED channels on YouTube. There's TEDx, there's TED Talks, and there's TED Ed. All right, you want to write that down? Write that down. There is so much video content. Even if you stick to these 3 channels, you will be smarter than all your friends and family members if you watch even 5 videos per day. till the 15th of April. You'll be smarter than everyone you know suddenly, because you'll have those many perspectives that have entered your brain. All right, each video is what, 4 minutes, 5 minutes? You're awake for what, 8 hours, 12 hours a day? So I'm asking you to give 40 minutes.
Could you, Aman, could you repeat that, please? The TEDx, TED Talk?
TEDx, TED Talks, and TED Ed.
That's correct. You can just YouTube it.
you.
You can just find it. It's very straightforward. See, it's what.
Aman, what we do right now is will really help people like me who is also struggling with ADD, sorry. And what you said is really going to help. So someone like me or others who are now constantly looking at news or checking WhatsApp, and what you told will help. Anything else you can add when in this atmosphere, when you already have ADHD, how do you can take better care of yourself?
People with ADHD should typically keep themselves occupied as much as they can with a task that they enjoy or with a task that they may not necessarily enjoy. You see, happiness can also be an escape for some people. All right, they say this makes me eating an entire bag of fried chips makes me happy, so I'm going to eat fried chips for 12 hours because Dr. Aman told me. No, all right. It's not just about finding your happy spot. It's also finding a place where you feel useful to yourself. All right. If you were born, if you were put on this planet, if you believe in God, if you were put here, or if there is a certain larger purpose that you are attached to, that helps you feel grounded. That's kind of like your anchor. That is your reason to keep going on. I'm reading this, rereading this book called Man's Search for Meaning. There's a very wonderful quote in the book. It says that he who finds a why to live can cope with almost any how. All right. So basically, in life, a lot of stuff, a lot of shit, a lot of bad vibes, bad times, bad money situations, bad pandemics, bad news is going to hit you. You know what I mean? Now, every time if something adverse hits you, you're going to completely get flattened out. You're going to get, as they say in Mumbai, piss loud. Then that's not good for you. That's not good for you, because then that is wasting your time. All the time you could have devoted to taking good care of yourself. We take so much care about how we look. We take so much care about our Instagram profiles, but we don't take care about how we're feeling very often. Some people are now experiencing this pressure to, because I have this much time, I should have finished writing a novel. Oh, because I have this much time, I should have contributed to society in a really meaningful way. Here's a thought. Now that you have this time, maybe it's time for you to take care of yourself first. Then take on any additional skill set upgradation that you would like to take on. As I said, there are many things. You know what you want to learn, right? There are people who say, I want to learn how to do 50 push-ups without taking a break. Maybe you can start with that. Some people say, I want to try yoga. A lot of people are now trying to hone their cooking skills. A lot of people now are like, oh shit, I should be putting videos on YouTube. How do I start a YouTube channel? How do I start my blog? This is a great time. I'll get good audience if I type coronavirus or COVID-19. Why not, right? I mean, if your content is any good, if you know how to speak, if you know what you're speaking about, maybe you have some interesting perspectives to share. And maybe what you have to share might benefit someone else. So I think about it this way. You're not just taking care of yourself for yourself. You're taking care of yourself for everyone else as well. Isn't it? Because that means you are that much more capable of spreading joy, or spreading inspiration, or even bringing some good old-fashioned humor to the lives of other people. Right? You're not just living for yourself. Even though you're living in isolation, technically, I live alone. All right, I don't know how many of you all live alone, but those of you all who actually live alone, every morning I ask myself, am I just living for myself, or am I also living for all my friends, my parents, my students, all the books that I want to finish writing, perhaps by the time I'm 50 years old? All right? So what am I living for? I have figured out the why, and therefore I'm figuring out the how. How am I going to do this? First few days, I swear to God, I was like a cat. I just slept a lot because I realized I hadn't been sleeping a lot because of the nature of the work that I was doing. I wasn't sleeping a lot. I said, all right, this is fantastic. I can have afternoon naps. Cat Simulator version 2.0. All right. Then I realized that was messing with my sleep. But when I wasn't feeling sleepy, I said, all right, now it's time to catch up with my books. When I got tired of reading, I said, all right, now it's time to maybe catch a little bit of the news, but not more than 3 to 4 minutes. Enough for me to get a glimpse of what's happening, but it won't flood my emotional timeline. You know what I mean?
Okay. Any other question? Anybody has a question?
Yeah, I have a question. See, what I find happening, for example, in my house, my mom, she likes going out a lot. My fiance also, she's a very social person, like going out. And now this isolation is really starting to grate on them to the extent where I've had arguments with my fiance about, she's like, you know what, I'm just going to go to my friend's place. There's going to be no one but just us. We'll go safely and everything. But I'm like, you can't do that right now. So how do you handle this cabin fever? Because it's getting to everybody.
See, cabin fever is getting to everyone, but at the end of the day, I would like to ask you a very simple question. It's a little bit practical. Why is it your job to handle the cabin fever of another human being? Why is it not their responsibility to handle their own cabin fever? They're grown up, they're adults. And if you are expected to help them, perhaps you may not have the skills to help them. Somebody needs to go on mute. Mute.
Somebody please mute. Who is that?
All right.
Okay, go ahead.
So, you see, I understand it's a challenge for them. I'm a very social person as well. But it's not your job to fix every challenge in their lives. Even though you may feel that that makes you a better fiance or that makes you a better son, it's not your job. It's not your job. All right? Now, as adults, we are all responsible for ourselves first. Because if, even in an airline, right, when there's a drop in air pressure, you first have to put a mask on yourself, then help the small kid sitting next to you, if there's a small kid sitting next to you, right? That's what they tell you, right? In flight, those boring videos that they show you, right? In the Air India flights or any other flight. So, if you can't help yourself, you can't help other people.
I'm not having a latte. Don't touch it.
All right. Someone go on mute. All right.
Sorry, please, another request, please switch off your audio, put it on mute when you're not talking.
Yes, please.
Aman, we are around 40 people right now,
Wow,
and
look at that.
this is a record for Hugging Club.
All
Aman,
right.
can you take a screenshot, please?
I've already taken screenshot, and we have around 60 people now.
Fantastic.
60.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
All right. Lots
This is
of...
the first time in the history of SBI Zoom, we are 60. That talks a lot about your credibility and popularity. So, adding to that, I met Aman when I was learning personal counseling from his fabulous mom, Aman Bhonsle, and he attended few classes. What I really found was he was extremely down to earth. His mom runs this Heart Counselling Centre. He's the son of the teacher. Yet, he was very humble, relatable, and very caring. He used to open up and talk. And when I realized that he was so caring about his mom, he used to tell his mom that we should reduce your practice, take care of your health. That shows the human side of you. Thank you so much.
Cheers, yeah.
Aman, there is a question I sent you on WhatsApp. A lot of people advise that go on Facebook, spend some time with your friends. But when somebody is staying alone and not a part of any video chat, it looks as if he's not wanted. What do you do, Look at the first question I sent on WhatsApp.
Yeah, I can see. So you're saying that some people might feel left out if they don't have friends to talk to, or they don't have someone to share their thoughts with, right? So let me tell you a little bit about how it was for me when I was growing up. So I didn't have many friends when I was growing up. Let me be honest with you, because I didn't play cricket. I sucked at football. I was terrible at maths. Oh my God, if my maths teachers saw me today, they'd say, how did this guy figure it out? I say, I was in the library while these guys were playing soccer. So I was reading books while these guys were kicking the ball around. So I found a lot of companionship, not just in people. Of course, there is great value to companionship in people, but I found a lot of companionship in ideas. a lot of companionship in stories, a lot of companionship in experiences that I could vicariously have through the perspectives, as I shared earlier, of other people, other individuals. And it's kind of like getting started. There are some people who run 45-kilometer marathons, and if you think about it, if one day you just got up and said, all right, I'm going to run for 45 kilometers, you know what would happen to you? You'd probably freaking die. Or you'd probably get run over by a car because you'd be so tired you might just fall somewhere. Or you'll entirely scrape your feet, and you'll have swellings, and you'll need to go for physiotherapy and psychotherapy. Then you come to me because you haven't trained yourself for it. You can't just wake up like Forrest Gump one day and say, I'm going to go and run now coast to coast. Similarly, a lot of us are not prepared for a situation like this. A lot of us are not prepared for the kind of pressures that we are experiencing. Now suddenly, because we are forced to be isolated, forced by the government, forced by law, suddenly the need for friends becomes very acute. It becomes very acute. So people who are generally ambiverts or introverts, they don't have a problem with that. They're like, "Bhai, ye to normal life hai hamari. Ye to kisme kaun si badi baat hai?" Like for me, I haven't seen my parents in 2 weeks, but I talk to them all the time, and we video call, and we keep liking each other's posts on social media. So I don't feel like, "Arey baap re, my parents kaise honge? Un aloo hai ki nahi ghar mein?" Because I have trained myself to live away from them. Similarly, you have to train yourself to realize that you were born alone. You were not born holding the hands of, sorry, I just killed a mosquito. You were not born holding the hands of 5 other people. You were born completely alone and nude and upside down. Not a very glamorous way to start your innings. All right, think about it that way. And here you are figuring out, oh, I don't have friends. You can make friends. All right, I'll give you a really silly example. So I got this thing made, which is called the digital business card. So we have this really volatile building WhatsApp group where the current discussion this evening is cigarette किसने ऊपर से फेंका मेरे balcony में गिर गया है और इसी बात पे आधे घंटे की चर्चा हो रही है. So what I do is if someone is really stressed, see the psychotherapist in me wants to say, let's calm down a bit. Everyone's really bored and stressed. So I'll send them a direct message. I'll say, hi, I'm Dr. Aman, and this is a lovely article I thought that might be of interest to you since you seem a little bit on edge. I'm not saying this article will change your life, but maybe when you are in a better mood, you could, read this article. It's a really lovely piece. And hi, I'm your neighbor, and this is my digital business card. Aha. So I have created a virtual friend without having met them using simply WhatsApp. You have that option on WhatsApp. You can reply privately to someone. Just as you can block someone, you can reply privately, isn't it? So you can make friends virtually. This isn't because I don't have friends, so I'm going to die alone in some ashram in Uttar Pradesh. No, it doesn't have to be that way. It doesn't have to be that way. You write the story of your life. And the moment you realize that you have that potential, that power, then you realize you also have that responsibility. It's your job. It's your job. I remember when I was new in the world of advertising, I received a brief that apparently none of my seniors wanted to tackle. So you know how it is, right? They give the junior most person the brief and say, now you go and deal with this crazy client. And if you don't, you're in trouble. So I remember having a panic attack, and I was drinking thumbs ups for some odd reason. And I was really stressed out. I couldn't understand what to do. So I went to my senior. I had tears in my eyes. I'm 19 years old. I don't even have a mooch. Okay, I'm like this kid. And I say, what am I supposed to do? I don't know. He said, do I look like your school teacher to you? Am I your mom? Do your freaking job. That's what you're supposed to do. Why are you here? So, I mean, it's tough love, right? And I did my job, and apparently the client loved what I wrote. So I'm going to tell you the same thing, right? Do your freaking job. Taking care of yourself is your responsibility. That includes making friends. That includes minimizing distractions. That includes finding interesting activities for yourself to do. That includes finding interesting TV shows that are worth your time. Right? That includes putting your volume on mute. Who's it? Who's doing that? Who's doing that? All right. I will find you and I will send Liam Neeson to your house.
Hey Umang, Prasad here. I would just request you as a host, you can actually mute everyone.
I'm
Correct.
doing that only.
Mute
No,
me
I'm
also.
doing that only.
Don't do
Who
that.
is not on mute and I'm muting them manually.
Aman, I want to bring out, which is a little disturbing. Somebody from the group has mentioned that there is a domestic violence happening at home against her.
Mm-hmm.
How does she tackle this situation right now where she cannot go out? It is a problem. It has always been a problem staying at home. Now it has at its peak. What should one do?
Well, domestic violence comes under criminal offense. I think at this stage, I mean, if she still has her phone, maybe she can WhatsApp a lawyer and ask for what her options are legally speaking. See, we know the police is occupied with nakabandis and coronavirus issues, but this is a problem that I think would best be dealt with by someone who has a background and grounding in what the criminal offenses are. See, just because the coronavirus is what everyone's talking about doesn't mean that there is no place for a police complaint. And I'm sure there is a certain way in which that procedure has to be, tapped on. A Q&A with someone on Skype is not going to make her husband beat her any lesser, but a lawyer and a cop can make that happen. So I strongly feel she should chat with a lawyer, maybe put it on her WhatsApp group. Most women I know, the ones that I do, have a woman's WhatsApp group. No harm putting it up there. There's always a Samaritan who might come to your rescue and say, you know what, I know someone. Let's figure this out. Doesn't take very long in the WhatsApp generation. If you had asked me this question in 2002, where we didn't have WhatsApp, we had MSN Messenger back then, but it wouldn't have been possible. We live in a very, very powerful time. Just look at the sheer number of people who are listening to me right now. It's amazing. Everyone's sitting in their houses, and we're here able to share ideas so freely without any censorship, except for self-censorship.
I mean, in continuation to that question, there is one question came. It is somebody is not domestic violence, but it's already a hostile. Somebody is being forced to get married. He's gay and he's being forced to get married all these years, and now at home there is no escape. The parents have said, okay, finally you tell me why you don't want to get married, and going out of the whole house was his only solace in life, and now he is trapped. There's a torture, shadi kar. What is the problem? How does he deal with this?
A lot of people are not well equipped to negotiate, especially with loved ones. And this is not just a problem that people from the gay community may have, but this is generally your credibility, anyone's credibility, including mine, with your parents is not going to be the same way as it is with people from outside your house, because your parents have seen you vulnerable, they've seen you grow up, they've seen all the silly things you've done when you were in college, they've seen all the terrible life choices you may have made because of lack of experience. So no doubt it's a challenge to negotiate with your parents, but what I usually tell people, what a very effective negotiation strategy is, to always buy time. So, and because time is something we're not it's not something that we have a shortage of right now, given this situation. I would say that such a person could tell their mom or their dad that I understand what you're saying, but I am maybe not prepared right now to have this discussion because I'm, busy with, I'm busy with something else maybe. Because you see, as if you have a certain activity that you're doing even inside the house, that can be a very good way to sort of segue out of conversations. You got to slide out of these things. All right, it's like like Harry Houdini, escape artist. Like you got to learn how to escape uncomfortable situations in certain cases. Now it's difficult to escape a conversation, especially when you can't leave the house. I completely get that, and therein lies the practical difficulty of this entire challenge. Deflection is a very good, a very good strategy. Deflection would be, like if someone tells me, "Oh, Aman, I really don't like your hair." I'm like, "I understand you have a problem with my hair, but tell me something. Is there anything interesting you have watched on TV these days?" And then we'll come back to my hair. Don't worry, we'll talk about why you don't like my hair. But I first want to know if there's something good to watch on TV, and then maybe we can discuss it. So you gotta pivot. In college during vivas, engineering students are very good at this. They know how to pivot to turn the conversation around. So with parents, you may not be able to win the argument if they are going to put you in the spot, but you can certainly, hopefully you have your own room, you can at least close it and lock the door. If you have good headphones, I used to tell people that headphones are the most underrated investment that you can make for yourself. A good pair of noise cancellation headphones, those sasta earphones you get with your phone. No, noise cancellation means you turn the world off. So you can listen to a podcast, you can listen to music, you can completely, even if you're in the same room in a really small house, you can create a gap between the person who's bombarding you and yourself. Like in World War I, you had trenches. There was trench warfare. Those trenches were meant to hide you from the enemy. I'm not saying your parents are the enemy, but I'm saying sometimes there is great value to being hidden, right? Hiding in plain sight. So you can't have that conversation. You could say, hey, you know what, we'll pick this up, but right now I have this thing, it's for work, or it's for my personal development, or I'm trying to figure out how to make more money. Something that could also give the parents a reason to, sort of stay off your back. You say, all right, I get it. Maybe he'll discuss it later. So you have to buy time. And then when the time is right, see, a lot of people don't understand the value that you may have a very, very winning argument, a fantastic point, you may be eloquent as hell, but if you don't time your conversation right, if you speak at the wrong time or when the person is not in the mood to listen to you, a lot of people speak to respond, not speak to understand. You know what I mean? Instagram pe padha tha maine aaj subah. Very interesting, very cliche, but it's very true, People want to immediately respond. They don't want to understand what's happening, what the person in front is trying to say to them. So I think negotiation is a very valuable skill. Such a person who doesn't know how to speak to their parents, they should go on Google and type how to negotiate effectively with my parents and read even the first 10 articles that you find. See, you got to become smarter about these things because no one's going to come and save you. No one's going to come and save you. No chance. All right? One of my friends has a bungalow. All right? He has two young babies at his house and two parents or senior citizens. You know what he started before the lockdown? He started farming. He went on YouTube, figured out what he needs, and he's growing tomatoes now. Because he realizes that with so many mouths to feed, and with the virus being what it is, he may not have access to a large supermarket. Of course, we have access, but if he doesn't have access, the least he can do is make some basic stuff with tomatoes and with a few other things. No harm, right? So he has found a solution. He's thinking out of the box. Some people will say, yaar, ye to zyada hi ho gaya. But come on, man, it works for him. He's got mouths to feed. He's being creative. He's being resourceful. So you have to be creative and resourceful in even dealing with your parents because your parents may not be on your side. Especially if you do something that they didn't want you to do in the first place. Understand, they were born probably in the 1940s, 1950s, 1960s. It's a very different world they come from. They don't understand your values. They don't understand backpacking. They don't understand 346 rupee coffees. They won't. They never will. If you play board games for 4 hours, they may say, yaar, tum to sirf time pass kar rahe ho. Career badhao. A lot of people, you play video games, you're on an online MMORPG, you're playing Dota or whatever the hell you're playing, they'll say, hey, dekho, video games ne to iski zindagi kharab ki. Little would they know about the Korean video game industry where you can be a millionaire if you start a video game streamcast on YouTube for free sitting in your house. Kind of endorsements you'll get. There's a completely parallel industry. So if you're smart, there are ways to make money. If you're smart, there are ways to have conversations. If you're smart about it, there are ways to also avoid all the junk that is coming your way because of the coronavirus. But you have to be smart. If you realize that, oh, I'm not smart, or I need to be smarter, or I'm not smart enough based on my own personal definition of how smart I think I can be, then I need to identify learning tools and resources so I can grow and upgrade myself. Because no one starts at 100 directly. Everyone has started at 0. I used to have a legitimate fear of public speaking when I was a kid. I had a stutter. I used to tremble around girls. Girl came and spoke to me. I used to be like in those movies. And I haven't planned anything that I'm going to speak now to you. I talk for a living. Because I studied the people who speak well. I watched their speeches. I watched their inflections. I counted how many times they pause. I
But
tried
they can
to.
see
So we have to become better, no? If we want to do something, isn't it?
Okay, Aman, there is one question which is flashing, and I will start with that a joke which I have been telling people that overnight I have become from a good son to a bad daughter-in-law. My father is finding flaws in everything I'm cooking, So there is this question which has come up that when you're doing all the housework, there is no maid, and yet your family is not appreciative. How do you keep yourself motivated in this situation?
Well, you have to realize that you're not doing things only for them. You have to also do things for yourself. See, if you live your life trying to make every human being you meet happy, you'll be a very miserable individual. Because you know what will happen if if they say, okay, I will be very happy if you get a job. Let's imagine the life of a 20-year-old. Just as an illustrative example, bear with me. 20-year-old father says, I'll be happiest the day you get a job. Okay, guy gets a job. Father will say, I'll be the happiest when you start making more money. He makes more money. He'll say, I'll be the happiest when you get a promotion and your company recognizes your efforts. He gets a promotion. He'll say, promotion to theek hai. I'll be happiest if you win an industry award in the profession of your choice so that the entire country recognizes you. Then he'll win that. Then the father will tell his son, oh, I'll be the happiest if you go to London for 4 years, make a lot of money and buy a house for us. Son does that. Then the father will say, oh, I'll be very happy if this house is built using sustainable architecture so we can have a fruit garden on top. He does that. Then he say, oh, we'll be the happiest if you come and live with us in this house and leave your fancy job in London. Oh, how, till you die, are you going to service them? They're going to keep changing what they want. That's just how human beings are. We are greedy. We are greedy and we are conditioned to be that way. We are trained. Our minds are trained because of the kind of exposure we have had to be consumers. We are trained, we are conditioned to be compliant. Because ever since you were 3 years old and you were put in school, you were told to shut up, do what is told to you, don't ask questions, especially in a country like India, where it's very, very authoritarian. Family ka naam, do what a woman is supposed to do, you're a man, men don't cry. All these are just rules here. Some random guy in the 1930s told it to your father, he grew up listening to it, and then he told it to you, then you grew up listening to it, then you'll tell it to your kid. Where does it end here? These are all stories. If you logically look at these things, you say, all right, you don't like my cooking? Fantastic, cook for yourself. Fair enough. You don't know how to cook? There's this beautiful thing, it's called YouTube. Check it out. Go to rasoismart.com and figure it out. Have jeera aloo for the next 17 days. It's the simplest damn thing to make. Requires no culinary prowess. All you need is a little bit of hing and shahi jeera and ghee if you have that. That's it. And some salt. That's it.
Thanks.
It's not your job to cook for everyone. Yeah, it's not your job.
Anybody has... Yeah, go ahead.
So I wanted to ask that when we are watching news and other information, and sometimes the information can be very exhausting. So why does it take very long for us to realize that we are exhausted or emotionally exhausted? Because if it's like a physical thing, a prick or something, our reflexes are very strong and very sharp. So why are our emotional reflexes so weak, and why does it take so long for us to realize that we're fatigued?
Our emotional reflexes are weak because we have become numb to our emotions, or because we have, maybe unfortunately through some tragedy of fate or through some tragedy of your conditioning, we have learned to censor our emotions. You see, every family has a certain idea of what a good emotion is and what a bad emotion is. In some families, if you shout a lot, they may say, look, you do so much danga. Oh, you're so disruptive. Oh, you're so disrespectful. Oh, you're such a pain in the ass. Oh, you're so ungrateful. And in some families, shouting and sarcasm is a way of life. They say, जब तक तुम चिल्लाओगे नहीं, हमको कैसे पता होगा कि तुम जिंदा भी हो कि नहीं? है कि नहीं? Every family has these arbitrary rules. So we have become emotionally numb because perhaps when we actually felt those emotions, they were not respected by people who we thought would respect those emotions. So probably when you were young or in the past, you may have felt, yeah, these emotions are not being respected, so they're not worth having. These emotions are not being understood. And because they are not being understood, they are not worth my attention and time. But that's not the case. If you're feeling an emotion, if you're feeling a certain way, even if there's an inkling, it's like how if you're watching something on TV, if you're watching something on Netflix, all right, my favorite app, and suddenly the doorbell rings, all right. Not nowadays, of course, no one's coming home. But if the doorbell rings, what are you going to do? You're going to press the pause button, go and see who's at the door, address the problem, and then get whatever, maybe some saman has come, then you start the show again. You need to go on pause mode the moment you feel an emotion, and a lot of people are not very good at this. They're not good at this because they've never practiced it. They've never practiced it because society, their families, their schools, and their jobs will not let them have those emotions. So if you are having an emotion and it's stressing you out and you're like, oh no, I'm feeling something, you got to go on pause. Like if there's a bad smell, you'll immediately leave that place. You'll be like, damn, what the hell is that smell? I'm out of here, man. I'm not gonna stick around to figure out and become Sherlock Holmes and say, is this something rotten, or is this something else, or is this fish, or is this shit? I'm gonna say, it smells bad, I'm out of here. So it's important for you to exit a situation, maybe temporarily. I'm not saying escape every time there's a problem or an adversity, all right? But there are going to be lots of adversities in your life, all right? This is just one of them. The way I see it, whenever I feel stressed out, I do feel stressed out. I'm a human being, all right? I'm not Batman. I think even Batman is stressed out at some times, right? So, you know, I do feel stressed out. What I do is I do the same thing. I put my emotions on pause. There's this wonderful meditation video I saw last week where he says that you have to be aware of your emotions without becoming your emotions. And that awareness is a little bit spiritual, but it says that you have to understand that there is a reason you're having that emotion, instead of getting completely sucked into that vortex, you know, like a whirlpool that'll suck the boat in and then it'll disappear. You cannot get sucked in, but at the same time, you need to understand that because you're having this emotion, maybe there's a certain activity that you are partaking in. There's a certain there's a certain endeavor that you have undertaken. Maybe that endeavor is reading every possible news story on WhatsApp related to the coronavirus, or replying to every human being on every group chat that you're a part of, and that is stressing you out. So this endeavor is, this activity is, this focus is stressing me out, is making me feel terrible. So therefore I need to plan an intervention. And then that intervention, as I said, could be pressing the pause button, getting some distance, so that with that distance comes the gift of clarity. Because without clarity, you are basically just running wild. Then you're just one emotion after the next. But unfortunately, clarity and being emotional cannot exist in the same room. So if you're very emotional, you can't be clear about how you're thinking, about what you're saying, about who you're saying it to, or about even what you're feeling. So the moment you feel unpleasant about something, understand that that unpleasantness is there for a reason. It's to protect you. Ever seen a deer that hears a gunshot? If it's eating grass, what it does, it just looks up like this. It just holds on. It looks around. Marenge kya, aaj, marenge kya, marenge kya, marenge kya, marenge kya. It looks around, and then it goes back to eating the grass, if it doesn't sense a threat. But otherwise, it may say, lagta hai marenge, chalo bhago yahan se. Animals have this instinct to preserve themselves. All right? Don't see, just because we sit on couches and just because we eat microwave popcorn doesn't mean that we are not part of the animal kingdom. We were given flight, fight, and freeze responses. It's part of our evolutionary design. And each response has a time and place. So you need to respect that. As I said, it all begins with having respect for yourself.
Thanks, Aman. Anybody else has a question? Yeah, go ahead.
I'm Abhay Parekh,
Hi,
family
Dr.
physician.
Abhay. How are you? Nice to see you here.
Nice. I've been listening, very interesting. See, the other part of this today's topic is about the fear psychosis and anxiety neurosis.
Yep.
What is happening that I'm seeing a lot of people, I'm encountering them, that they are shit scared of this coronavirus and they are shivering from inside and they are not able to cope up. I mean, they are taking so many precautions in the house, even amongst the relatives. They're scared all the time. What will happen if I will get corona? What will happen to me? How to cope this situation? Because I have heard Osho saying that fear is the most biggest challenge in such time.
See, what happens is fear is as I said, it's one of our natural instincts whenever we sense that there is a situation that we are not fully equipped to deal with. You understand what I'm saying? And right now, the entire mood of the nation or the mood of the world is that if you are not afraid, you are not being careful enough. That is the narrative that is being sent. Now, unfortunately, there are a lot of people who are, doing silly things like going out on the street. There was some woman's video where she's hitting the plate and going, "Karuna, go, Karuna, go, Karuna," and some silly stuff like that. Now, understand that fear can be a very powerful instrument to keep certain people away from their own stupidity. Sorry to say this, but stupidity is a very real phenomena. And stupidity usually comes from laziness, lack of information, and sometimes also genetics. So, a lot of the fear that is being manufactured, all right, a lot of the fear that is being manufactured is also to hit that particular target audience. I'll give you a simple example. Have you ever seen a small kid who needs to be fed food? He may not eat food in a normal way, but if the mother says, "Ye dekho, aeroplane aaya, yellow, land ho raha," and then you feed him something like Cerelac or whatever, he'll eat it. He'll be like, "Oh, you turned it into a game," because you spoke in a language that he understands. So fear is a language some people understand, because they don't understand it when you say, "All right, guys, there's a 2% mortality rate, and the India numbers are still not as bad as maybe Iran or Italy or Donald Trump's playground, the United States. It's not as bad, but yes, we need to take precautions. Yeah, we need to wash our hands and do the needful that is everywhere." That's not enough for some people, so they are more sensitive to fear. Maybe because also, as I say, a lot of these things go back to childhood patterns. If you spend a lot of time feeling afraid as a child, maybe that is a very strong stimulus that kind of acts on you as well. Now, how do you deal with the fear? How do you deal with the fear? I always tell people that your fear is transitionary. It's a transition meant to help you protect yourself better. Fear is always, in my opinion, a transitionary emotion. All right, it doesn't stay long unless you have multiple stimuli that are adding new sort of sources of fear. So first you were afraid because someone sent you a statistic about coronavirus. Arey baap re, itne log mar gaye. Arey baap re, arey baap re. So that is there. Then maybe you're afraid because you watch the news and you saw Modi saying "Sathiyon" in that way that he says it. Then maybe you are afraid because now someone doesn't like your cooking. So there are many sources of fear that are constantly acting on us. And as I said, it is very important to not always become a slave to it, but sometimes just say, "All right, I'm feeling scared. I'm a human being. If I was alive, I would be scared, and I am alive, therefore I do feel scared." And there's nothing wrong with it. A lot of people are feeling scared. But having said that, there's also a lot of good news which may not be reaching you through the right channels, or maybe you have friends who are not relaying that kind of news. A lot of people, my own friend, sorry, someone's volume is up again. All right then. I wonder what they're saying. Did someone complain about the cooking there? What's happening? All right. Jira alu. All right. Are we okay? Are we on mute?
Yeah.
Sorry, I lost my train of thought. What was I talking about? Umang? Alrighty then. Yeah. You were saying, Umang? Sorry?
No, you were catching on your train of thoughts, You were catching on your train of thoughts.
You were talking being generated among people.
So fear, as I said, is a transitionary emotion. You don't have to get sucked into it, all right? And understand that if you are not feeling afraid, you're probably a ghost of some kind, because all human beings who are alive feel afraid, all right? We feel afraid of being wrong. We feel afraid of being irrelevant. We feel afraid of being lonely. We feel afraid of not being prepared enough. We feel afraid for our health. We feel afraid for the health of people we love. We feel afraid for our businesses. We feel afraid for the kind of money that we may not be bringing in currently because a lot of things are shut. We feel afraid of boredom, which is actually a very legitimate fear that has now become more and more pronounced. So, the way I see it, because I was, as I told you, when I was growing up, I didn't have too many friends. I guess my entire life I was preparing for this moment that now I do experience stress, but I'm not completely comatose by it, because I did realize as a young child as well that, I gotta look out for myself. That's what boarding school does to you. You realize that I'm in this alone, I gotta figure this out, and I may not have the right solutions, and not all my solutions will necessarily take me to places where I want to go, but I will learn along the way, and I will tweak. I will tweak. I will iterate my approach. Dealing with fear also requires an iterative approach. Some people talk about the power of meditation. Some people say, hey, you know what, I just listen to music and I'm okay. I'm one of those people. I love listening to music. I listen to instrumental music, and I write a list of things that I wish to do after this pandemic is over. Simple things, really. Going to on the street and having vada pav with those fried mirchis or something. One of the first things I'd love to do. I want to walk all the way from Varala, where my house is, all the way. I want to walk till Cuff Parade and just do a padyatra one day, just for fun, and see how much time it took me when I walk aram se. Pair chil jayenge. Pair chil jayenge, and go for Nihari with Abdul Qadir, I think. Is that Abdul Qadir? I didn't hear his voice. Yeah, that's part of our list. So I make these lists, and those lists give me a solid incentive to say I got to power through this, because I have so many reasons, so many beautiful things to look forward to. All right, it's not like we are being overrun by zombies. Okay, here's another unconventional idea. Watch 28 days later and 28 weeks later, and you realize the current situation we are in is not as bad. They're not zombies at your door with knives and we're going to tear the flesh off your neck. All right, this is a pandemic. We've had pandemics before. We've had the Spanish flu, we've had the bubonic plague. All right, we've had several others. You can Wikipedia that stuff. All right, we have dealt with it, and back then they didn't have WhatsApp. All right, and they still dealt with it. Yes, unfortunately some lives were lost. Unfortunately, medical science hadn't progressed to a point where it could instantly cure these things. The speed at which we are able to share information will definitely affect the speed at which there is a vaccine and a cure for this. It's only a matter of time before we figure it out. This is a good time to reflect. This is a good time to recalibrate. And this is a good time to watch Breaking Bad seasons 1 to 5 on Netflix. I would highly recommend that. Great show. All right.
There are certain questions coming, 2-3. Do you have time?
Yeah,
10,
go ahead.
15 minutes.
Go ahead.
Yeah. So there is this question. There's this guy saying that he's feeling as if he's on Titanic right now, because he doesn't know where the economy is going to crash and whether he'll have a job or he won't have a job, and there are these suicidal thoughts. How does one deal with this? He's feeling as if he's on Titanic right now, which has hit the iceberg.
Well, it sounds a little silly, but I hope Kate Winslet is with him, if that's the case. Okay, that's a very silly joke. I'm just trying to lighten it up. All right, I get it, all right. But see, the Titanic was in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean, and it was, I think, minus 20 degrees the water was that day. So a lot of people died, definitely. But here you are sitting on your couch, which is, in your house. I don't know how old your couch is, but, you're in the comfort of your house. You have the internet. God bless Wi-Fi, you have WhatsApp, you have YouTube, you have an endless... Those of us, I'm 34 years old, those of us who grew up without the internet know what a beautiful thing it is. When I did research projects, I had to actually take 5 books in front of me and transcribe. Back then, teachers wanted everything in your handwriting. We live in such a beautiful, beautiful time. This is probably the best time to be alive in history, despite what we are going through, because we have an endless library of ideas waiting for us to just go and catch them. All right. Now, as far as the economy is concerned, भाई सिर्फ आपका economy नहीं sink हुआ है, पूरी दुनिया का हुआ है. A lot of people are going to be out of jobs. A lot of industries, aviation, travel, tourism, hotels, restaurants, malls, movie theaters. A lot of people, even direct sales, are going to definitely suffer. So I'll give you an example. It's a story from my own life. This is of a friend of mine who, of course, I won't name. Let's call him Mr. X, all right, just for convenience sake. Now, this guy used to work with me, and the guy was Punjabi, so he loved his drink and his tandoori chicken. I'm half Punjabi, so I can appreciate when a man wants his drink and tandoori chicken. But this guy wanted to drink every evening, tandoori chicken and drinks. Now, this guy was a very top-level, high-ranking part of the organization, so he had a very good salary. and he was, he was really loved in the office. He used to look for us during lunch break. And we always used to say, yaar, isko bahut paisa milta hai. This guy's rich and his life is so good. His wife is so good. His house is so good. Everything is so perfect, picture perfect life. And he drinks really nice whiskey and he has a lot of tandoori chicken. And that's the life, yaar. Punjabi, live life king size. One day the company decides they want to kick him out of his job. And we found out through a freaking email that this guy has now been let loose. And we all liked him because he was popular and he used to take us and we'd have beers and we'd have tandoori chicken together. We were like, yeah, our TGIF guy is now gone. So I reached out to him and I told him, where are you, man? I mean, let's catch up. What's happening? Am I buying one round for you or not? He says, I'm busy. I said, busy? And he just got kicked out of a job. What's busy? What is he busy doing? Busy feeling sad for himself? I said, he must, bichara, he likes drinking. He must have gone into the Devdas zone a little bit. So I said, where are you? He said, I'm at this coffee place. I said, okay, let me come and see you there after work. We'll go have coffee. So I came here. I came to meet him, and I told him, hey man, how are you? So it's very awkward for me, right, to talk to someone about being fired. I can't just go and tell him, oh, you've been fired. So sad, so bad. So I said, how's the coffee here? I said, he said, it's shitty, man. It's the worst coffee I've ever had. I said, well, how much did you pay for it? He said, $8. This is Singapore dollars, $8. That's a lot of money for a shitty coffee. He said, yeah, I'm going to keep drinking this shitty coffee till I find myself a job. I said, that's an interesting way of looking at it. I said, what about you? Are you going to be drinking tonight? He said, no, I quit. I said, really? You quit? You who has good whiskey? He's like, yeah, I'll give away some bottles. Do you want a bottle? I said, wait, man, this is too much to process. What's happening? He says, didn't you know I found a job already? I said, that was quick, man. I mean, you just lost your job in the afternoon. We saw the email and you say you already have a job? He's like, yeah. I said, what is the job? Where? Tell her, mere ko bhi batao. He says, my job is to find a job. That's my job from today. And I'm going to wake up, have shitty $8 coffee till the time I don't do it, so it bleeds a hole in my wallet and I feel annoyed with myself for spending so much on coffee, so I can push myself to find a new job, even though at my salary level it's very difficult to get hired. Next thing you know, within 2 weeks he was hired. He used every trick in the book. He made cold calls, he sent emails, he went on LinkedIn and stalked people, he pulled in favors, he called his university friends, every connection. He called his aunt who he really hated. He told me all this. I used to hate this aunt, but she has a lot of connections. So he found ways to get hired again. So if the economy goes to hell, it's not going to go to hell forever. Yeah, there'll be some months where you are not able to find work, or there may be some months where you've lost some money in the stock market. All right, and I mean that's all right, and you're not alone. So your job is to find the job. Your job is to find peace. Do you know when Steve Jobs was famously kicked out of Apple by the guy he hired? I can't remember the guy's name. He decided to, go on a spiritual break. He came to India, he went to some ashram. It's there in his book by Walter Isaacson, which I've read. I don't remember I didn't read it many years ago. But he came to an ashram here, I think in the north, and he just spent some time in spirituality, trying to sort of gain his perspective again, trying to, I always tell people this, that, kabhi ki jab tak bhook se nahi maroge na, tab tak sab theek hai. Bhook jab lagti hai na, then everything goes to hell. So I mean, even if worst case scenario, what's going to happen? Are you going to be on the streets? Worst case scenario, what's going to happen? Are you going to be sitting in some gurudwara queuing up for langar? Worst thing, what's going to happen? You're going to go and sleep on the footpath. What's going to happen? You're going to be unemployed for a few days. A couple of annoying relatives will ask you, beta, job ka kya hua? They're annoying anyway. They'll be annoying whether you have a job or you don't have a job. That doesn't change the fact that you need to do what you need to do. And your job is to find a job, like Mr. X, my friend. I was shocked that he used being fired as an opportunity to quit drinking, to sort of get in the game. And he was wearing a crisp shirt, the best shirt that he had. Itne achhe shirt he used to never wear at his office. He was dressed too crisply to be showing up at a coffee bar, having crappy $8 coffee that tastes like phenyl. That's what he said, tastes like phenyl, but I'm going to drink it every day till I get a job. So we all have to find ways to motivate ourselves, because not everyone can afford a counselor. Not everyone may have access to a very motivational group of friends. Sometimes your family can be a very, very annoying and difficult place to be in, because if your mother or father are very negative or pessimistic, or they are prone to fear, or prone to being extremely nihilistic or misanthropic by nature, that energy kind of brings you down, which is why I said a good noise cancellation headphone and headset is worth a lot. That's the first thing you should buy after the the curfew is lifted. Get good headphones. You have to create a micro world for yourself that insulates you from things that make you feel threatened. It's what the animals do, and it's what you should do as well.
Thanks, Aman. I think this is the last question I'll take, unless there is another question. So, how you give these positive examples? There are more deaths in US and Italy, and they're quite wrong. It's a good news. But there is a tendency among friends and relatives, they're all forwarding negative news. Why is this urge to spread negative news and not positive news? Where is this coming from?
Like, I have always noticed, if you tell people, tell me 5 things you love about yourself, they'll be like, But if you say, tell me 5 things you absolutely despise about yourself, they'll say, I'm lazy, I put on weight, I don't spend enough time with my family, I drive a shitty car, and my boss won't promote me because he thinks I'm not good enough at my job, and I've stuck at this job for way too long. These are 5 things I hate about myself. Easy to say negative stuff because it's little more, as they say, it's little more easy to sell. Things, because negativity is packaged with a lot more gloss. Because negativity breeds fear, negativity also breeds compliance. See, negative reinforcement is a way of life. All right? Even when you're a small kid, you are told, if you don't eat your sabji, we will not take you out for movie or pizza next week. If you don't finish your homework, daddy's not buying you something, a new PlayStation. So we're always given negative reinforcement. So our minds tend to get dragged down because of negative news, and we also enjoy spreading that. People enjoy, someone had once told me the story when I was a kid, that there was once a sheikh who had come to India, and because the sheikhs have a lot of money, they're very rich, he gave, I think, 1,000 rupee note. Back then there were 1,000 rupee notes, by the way, to a beggar child, and there were 5 other beggar childs who said, Bapre, that sheikh doesn't even know how much money he's given. And the other kids came, they took that 1,000 rupee note and they just tore it up. Ki sala na terko mila, na merko mila. You won't get it, I won't get it, no one gets it. Similarly, some people in states of fear, in states of panic, also say, I'm not at peace, I am not feeling good, therefore I will drag all of y'all down with me. Instead of helping you feel better, I will make all of y'all feel like shit because I feel like shit, and the world's going to shit, and everyone deserves to feel like shit because this is shit, Corona is shit, the government is shit, Modi is shit. So if you are, it's like this, if you smell bad and you enter the room, now the entire room smells bad. Because of you. Because you refuse to take a bath. Alright? You understand? So similarly, you bring that kind of stinker, negative and pessimistic attitude. You bring that kind of venom into this into the world of WhatsApp, or into the world of your own family. It's a lot easier to spread negativity because what has happened is, as a society, because of also the kind of access of information that we now have, we've also become extremely cynical. We've also become extremely pessimistic. In the old days, if someone told you, oh, this is how it is, they'd say, acha, acha. Now you say, really? Bullshit. I'm going to check Google and see whether you have told me a lie or whether you know what you're talking about. So that cynicism has crept in, which there's a healthy component to being cynical as well, if you don't overdo it and don't go nuts. All right? Everything in balance, as I say.
Okay. Thank you, Aman. In fact, I am reading a lot of comments as people are leaving with their dinner time, that you are an excellent storyteller, motivational, giving lovely examples and insights, So I can't leave you without you telling, your mom telling you that lovely peacock and crow story. You have to tell this.
No,
to
no,
us,
no,
you
no.
know.
Listen, no, I cannot. No peacocks and crows, man. There's one pigeon which has been troubling me. I have, I'm scared of birds. I can't tell that story. But when you have my, you're gonna be doing a call with my father tomorrow. He's like 100 times. He's like 100 times better storyteller than me. वो सब मेरे खून में आया है. All right. So he will tell you that story. But that story is, I mean, see, the gist of that story is that we always like what someone else has. All right, we always like what someone else. So I'll say it in my own way that I tell people that if you're the most good-looking person in the room, there's a chance that you're not the smartest. If you're the smartest person in the room, there's a chance that you don't have maybe the most supportive family, because maybe they can't understand how your brain works. If you have the most supportive family, chances are they may not be the richest family out there. If you have the richest family out there, chances are that they may not have a lot of compassion among each other. You cannot get everything here. The healthiest person is not the richest person. The most good-looking person is not the smartest person. Sometimes you have the economy working for you, but you live in a house where, the economy, you might be in a country with a very strong economy, but you don't have a very loving family. Maybe your father disappeared and left your mother, and you've been brought up by a single parent. So what if you have a strong economy? All that guy wants is he wants a father's love. So not everyone can get everything in life. All right, this is a good time. This coronavirus pandemic has come at a good time to remind us that you can't have everything, and sometimes it's okay to not have everything. Just calm down, just relax. All right, we're all in this stuck at home together. All right, God bless Wi-Fi and 4G at this time. And जिसके पास 4G नहीं है, उसके पास भाजी तो है कि नहीं? टिंडे बनाओ, आलू बनाओ. हाँ, I made some टिंडे. सब सिर्फ आप लोगों का डिनर टाइम है. मैं क्या केजरीवाल हूँ? I'm gonna go on some भूख हड़ताल.
Okay, thank you so much, Aman, for making it so lively with lovely examples. Let's give him a round of applause. Thank you so much. A couple of things which I liked about which was so profound is that there is so much pressure to be fearful. If you're not fearful, you're not careful.
Yes.
So that is a herd mentality. We could stop that.
Absolutely.
That's such a wonderful insight you gave.
Yeah.
And secondly, if you're aware of your emotions, don't get consumed by it. Be aware of it and get out of it.
Absolutely.
And don't stop. Sorry.
Absolutely. Go on.
And stop pleasing other people like your parents. You gave an example, of studies to buying a house for them. You have to start thinking for yourself,
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for making it so lively, casual, and lovely examples and insight, and talking about references like TEDx. Thank you so much.
Absolute pleasure.
Aman, first of all, we got so many people. I'm so happy. There are around 60 people. It's a record for the Hugging Club of India.
My pleasure.
Thank you
man.
so much.
My pleasure, guys. Guys, I just enjoy life, yeah. Just do what you need to do to stay sane. All right. That's what I say.
Thanks for spending 90 minutes for us. Thank you.
All right. Take care.
Thanks, Aman. Really amazing session.
Bye, guys. Cheers.
Bye.
Thank you so much for this session.
Thank you.
It was
Thank
amazing
you very
and very
much.
informative.
My pleasure, guys. Thank you for being here.